On any given night, more than 60,000 people across Canada don't have a safe place to sleep. But if you're running an organization that helps people experiencing homelessness, you already knew that. The issue isn't that communities don't see the problem. It usually comes down to funding. Many organizations generally don't know where to look or how to stack funding sources together. Here's the thing, the money is out there. Federal programs, provincial funds, and community grants. There are a lot of places to look. But without a clear map, it's easy to spend months chasing the wrong programs and come away with nothing. At MoveMobility, we've helped many organizations get their mobile health programs off the ground, including health teams, nonprofits, and governments. We've seen what works when it comes to funding, and what doesn't. In this video, I'll walk you through the full landscape. Federal programs first, then provincial options by region, and then community grants. And we'll finish with how we stack these sources together so your program gets funded. Now let's get into it. There are 5 main federal programs for you to know about, each covering different things, so it's important to know which one fits your situation better. Reaching Home is the largest federal homelessness program in Canada. It funds outreach work, housing supports, and system planning. What it generally won't touch is capital purchases, like vehicles. Think of it as the program that pays for your people as well as the operations. The Substance Use and Addictions program is different. Run by Health Canada, it has a history of covering capital costs, like outreach vans. This is great if your program connects homelessness with substance use and harm reduction. SUAP is one of the most direct paths to funding the vehicle as well as the people who are running it. Jordan's Principle through Indigenous Services Canada is worth knowing if your work supports First Nations or Indigenous children. It explicitly covers capital assets, including vehicles. This is one of the most direct paths that you'll find to fund a vehicle through the federal government. The Emergency Treatment Fund works through agreements with the federal government and individual provinces. It's covered outreach vans and mobile medical vehicles in past projects. Whether it applies to you depends on your province. Check with your local health authority to see if there's agreement already active. And finally, the Unsheltered Homelessness and Encampments Initiative. This was launched with $250 million to help communities respond to encampments. It covers shelter, outreach, and case management. Vehicles are not explicitly listed, but if you can tie a mobile unit directly into your encampment response plan, it's worth raising with your local UHEI contact. Now, provincial programs are where a lot of organizations leave money on the table, partly because the landscape looks different, depending on where you are. Some provinces are open to capital funding. Others stick to staff and operations. Knowing which category your province falls into saves you a lot of wasted effort. For example, in BC, the Heart and Hearth programs committed $44 million in capital funding. This is for supportive housing and outreach services. It's one of the strongest provincial options if physical assets are part of your plan. Spark BC's Homelessness Community Action Grant is also useful, but it doesn't cover capital. It's better for planning work and creating community partnerships. In Ontario, you can look at the Homelessness Prevention Program. It distributes funding through regional service managers and can support housing-connected outreach. Then there's the Ontario Trillium Foundation Capital Grants. These are the most direct path if you need equipment. Mobile outreach units can qualify as non-fixed equipment in their capital stream. This is worth a close look if you're in Ontario. In Quebec, the main options are the Emergency Homelessness Assistance Fund and the Provincial Prevention Funding. Both focus on program costs, like staff and services, rather than capital costs. In Alberta, you can look at the Indigenous Housing Capital Program. It is a strong capital focus for Indigenous-led projects. Other provincial supports tend to cover staff and shelter operations. No matter where you are in Canada, it's important to know your provincial options and build your strategy around what the province will actually fund. Community grants tend to get overlooked because they're smaller. That's worth reconsidering. They're usually faster to access and easier to apply for than government programs. And if the government grant you're applying to needs you to raise money first, the community grants can help with that. A lot of federal and provincial programs want to see that there are other funders already committed to the project. A community grant already in place tells them that you already have support. Here are the key ones. The Catherine Donnelly Foundation funds housing and outreach programs across Canada. Then there's the TELUS Friendly Future Foundation. They offer grants up to $20,000 through local community boards for youth and health programs. The Home Depot Canada Foundation focuses specifically on youth homelessness. The Canadian Red Cross has funded outreach and emergency shelter programs. And make sure you check out the Community Foundations of Canada. There are over 200 across the country, each with grant streams tailored to local needs. If there's one in your region, a direct conversation is worth your time. None of these will fund your whole program on their own, but as part of a stack, they fill gaps. Which brings us to the most important concept in this video. No single grant covers everything. If you go in looking for one grant that covers your whole operation, you'll come up empty, and you'll assume the funding isn't there. It is. You just have to build a stack. That means combining multiple sources, each covering a different piece. Federal program covers your capital costs. A provincial program covers staff and operations. A community grant covers the supplies, or the matching dollars for your other applications. Each source has a job. A practical example, a local outreach organization in Ontario is launching a mobile harm reduction program. They use SUAP to cover the vehicle. The Homelessness Prevention Program covers the outreach staff, and OTF grant covers supplies and matching funds. 3 sources, 3 pieces, 1 complete program. When you understand the stack, your applications get stronger too. Instead of telling one funder to cover everything, you're telling each funder what their funding is actually covering. Being specific makes a difference. Once funding is in place, the next question is what to spend it on. If mobile outreach is part of your plan, there are 2 vehicles worth knowing about. MoveMobility's mobile outreach van works as both a transport solution and a mobile clinic. The interior is configurable with harm reduction supplies, wound care, vaccinations, or whatever your program delivers. It's designed for mobile health, addiction care, and general outreach for people experiencing homelessness. Our mobile counseling van is built around trust rather than clinical services. Soft seating, soundproofing, dimmable lighting, a space designed to feel safe and private for people who might not be comfortable in traditional settings. It's built for mental health outreach and crisis prevention. And there's an off-road package for programs supporting remote and northern communities. If you want to talk about what makes sense for your program, there's a link below for you to talk to a MoveMobility expert. You now have the full picture. Federal programs on what they cover, provincial options, community grants, and a stacking strategy to tie them all together. The funding exists. The path to it just isn't always obvious. Hopefully this helped make it a little bit clearer. Now, if you found this video useful, feel free to share it with somebody who's working through similar challenges. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. We're always happy to help.